I will call the Town of Essex Select Board for Monday, February 3rd to order. Any additions to the agenda? Additions or changes from staff?
None from staff.
Anything from the board? Okay, no changes. Moving along to public to be heard. Public to be heard is a time for members of the public to comment, give input on consent items or items that are not on the agenda. So if you are in the room, you can raise your physical hand. If you're online, you can raise your virtual hand by clicking the ellipse, the three dots with more, and go to reactions. You can raise your hand from there. We do have a hand up in the room, so go ahead and come on up, state your name, and
Hello, good evening. I'm Ken Signorello, and I come before you to talk a little bit about the town website and the calendar and notices to meetings once again. If you would allow me, the best way to show you the problem, I think, would be so I can share my screen. If you would allow that, that would make it a lot easier.
sure.
Am I doing it or
Oh,
you?
I can get it.
Great.
Thank you. So this morning, or actually early this afternoon, I wanted to check out the agenda for this meeting. And as I usually do, I go to the town website. As you can see, I'm there now. Scroll down to the calendar. Click there. See, ah, yes, there's a select board meeting tonight. Click on this. And I get this. It does not go to the agenda.
So if you go back to where it says agenda and minutes, it will bring you,
I did go back.
keep going back
And
to where
I
you just
went-
started.
The next thing I tried was this.
Nope,
which
one
I-
more. Nope,
I'll
go back
go-
one more.
I will go there in a moment. I did find it eventually, and I went the way you're suggesting, or a slightly different way. But this should work as well, I would think, to go to that same place that I will go to when I go to agendas and meetings. So if you're persistent, yes, you can get there a number of different ways, and I finally got there this way. I went to Select Board, and I scrolled down to agendas and meetings, and I got to here. And you notice the meeting that was in question is not obviously visible initially, but I scroll up and there it is. Click on that, and yes, bingo, I'm where I want it to be. I think that's a little bit more, our homepage should go directly to the meeting minutes. It's like the bulletin board. So there are a lot of very important things on this agenda, and if you're not persistent enough, I'm not sure a person would realize that there's anything consequential going on this evening. Our town website is a statutorily required place of notice and needs to be properly handled. Isn't there somebody at least acting as a normal person, a resident, and seeing how it interacts with the public? I'm dumbfounded. This is not the first time I'm complaining about this. That calendar access on the homepage is crucial to link directly to the most pertinent materials, like you're looking at a bulletin board. The way it works now, it's like I went to the bulletin board and saw, oh, there's a select board meeting tonight, and then a blank page. No agenda.
Can I have you go back to the town website for a minute?
It'd be nice if that was hyperlinked, but it isn't. Getting there.
I know, it's okay.
All right, I'm on the homepage.
All right, check on agendas and minutes. Click on agendas and minutes.
Right
I have
there.
to get this thing out of the way. Hold on, you can't see what I see. There we go.
Okay.
And agendas and minutes.
Right here, yep. Keep going over.
There's
One more.
Something in the way, sorry. Okay, now I see it. Yep.
Okay.
That certainly works like
And that brings you right to the
Yep,
select
yep.
board meeting.
the
If
way
you
I went
click
the
on
other
it,
way. It's the
it's
same
there.
place.
It just does it
What's the function of the
automatically.
calendar?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask, is what is the intended user experience for the calendar? Is it
I'll show you
to-
the intended experience.
Can I finish, please? Is it to bring up the agenda, or is it to automatically link into the meeting that you're clicking on? That's a question. I'm not.
I will demonstrate for you.
I'm not saying whether it should or it shouldn't.
This is different
but
behavior
it
than
is.
in the
but
past.
it is something that we can take away and look at and either correct
Let
or
me just
label it more
demonstrate
appropriately.
what it normally would do. This is another meeting, just like the one we're looking at, and it goes exactly where it should go. And it's worked like that in the past. Some reason, the wrong link was put in for this meeting.
Okay,
That's what happened. And I'm suggesting that maybe you just need to have somebody's grandchild or some intern, somebody just make believe they're a common user and make sure that links got posted properly. It was a little frustrating today not to be able to find the agenda, but I eventually did, as Dawn is. There are more than one way to get there, but I don't know that I'm the average person. That is my complaint. Thank you.
thank you, Ken. Any other public comment? Madam-
Thank you, Madam Chair. Irene Renner, Essex resident. This isn't directly related to the select board, but I thought I would bring it up here because it's important that the staff make a change, I believe. It has to do with the Economic Development Commission agenda for Thursday, February 6th. In the packet, towards the end, is
Pardon me.
an open meeting law complaint that I filed. But unlike everything I've seen in a select board packet for about the last 10 years, my personal information is exposed. It is not redacted, including my address, my phone number, and my email.
Wait, get that correct.
So,
Absolutely, I apologize for that, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
thank you. Because it even says at the bottom of the complaint, this message contains confidential information, is only intended for the individuals addressed here. So, thanks so much.
Sorry for that.
Apologize for that. Any other members of the public in the room or online wishing to participate in public to be heard? Seeing none, we'll move along to the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make the motion, we accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Dawn. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Kendall. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Moving along to business items. First up is our public hearing for the Center Road Forcemain environmental review. Welcome.
Thank you. Annie Costandi, Water Quality Director.
I'm Mike Maynor. I'm from Aldrich and Elliott. We're the engineer that's been working on the project. So this is a requirement for state funding that we have this. Fonzie, you want to go? Or?
No, I was just wondering because we have a presentation that's associated with it. So if we could bring up the presentation while.
And one thing is Lynette Clodon from the state, who kind of administers all this. She's on via Zoom, and then I think there is this process we have to follow here, where the hearing gets formally started, and then we do the presentation. Then you open the floor to comment, and we see if there's any comments, and you formally close the hearing.
I make the motion that we've opened the public hearing for the Center Road Forcemain environmental review.
Thank you, Dawn. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Kendall. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Public hearing is open.
So the Center Road Forcemain project is replacing a section of Forcemain on Center Road from about where the Sweet Scoop shop is to the Market 32. And we are also making upgrades to the pump station as well. Because the project is being federally funded through Clean Water State Revolving Fund monies, we are required to do an environmental review of the project. And so there are multiple components that Mike will go in further detail that we had to look at for the environmental review. For this particular project, there were two categories that we had to look into a little bit closer, which was environmental justice and wetland impacts. Aldrich and Elliott conducted their review and determined that there was no significant environmental impacts for those two categories, and the state issued a finding of no significant impact, which is also called a FONSI. And so as part of the FONSI, we are required to hold this public hearing and provide information to the public on the project and allow a 30-day comment period. So Mike's going to go more into the review that Aldridge and Elliott did for the project.
Yes, I can go through this fairly quickly. So the project, it's 2,400 feet of new 8-inch diameter force main along Center Road, as well as some improvements in and around the pump station just north of there. And next slide. And because this project is federally funded, it has to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act. And the way that works is the State Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund, they make the determination on whether it's a FONSI. They independently review it and then issue the determination. Next page. So the review process, we prepare an environmental report which describes the project and evaluates the impacts. The state they evaluate and verify that information and then issue this finding of no significant impact. There's this public hearing and then a 30-day public comment period, and then that gets finalized by the state. And next page. So there's a whole bunch of criteria that have to get evaluated in the environmental report. There's only only two here on the next page that only two resources that we identified as potentially impacted. So if you go to the next page here, one of them is environmental justice considerations, and one of them is wetlands. Go to the next page. Environmental justice considerations. There are traffic impacts related to construction, and especially because Route 15 is a bus route and there are bus stops along the way. That was a concern. The project's going to use horizontal directional drilling. The advantage there is it's much faster, and it can be done with much less excavation. So there's fewer traffic impacts. People can use the road, and then the contractor is going to be required to coordinate with Green Mountain Transportation, let them know ahead of time, and then if need be, temporarily relocate bus stops and provide signage on that. Next page, the second potentially impacted resource or wetlands. So we did have to do a wetland delineation. This is all in the field north of Center Road, kind of around the solar panels there. The new sewer, it follows the existing alignment of the old sewer force main. So that's a corridor that has already been impacted, and then the site gets restored, regraded, and revegetated after construction, so there won't really be any changes afterwards. So that's everything in the presentation here. So you can open the floor to public comment if anyone has anything, and Lynette can, if she has anything she wants to add here, she can as well.
Can we ask questions first?
Go for it.
So, where the Heritage Estates pump station is, you're going to have to cross Route 15 to get to where you're doing on Center Road, right? So if you're going to go down the opposite side of Center Road, how's that going to impact where the solar panels are?
Well, it isn't, but we have to come through that field. So
There's no solar panels over where the force main is because we have an easement over it, so you're not allowed to put any sort of structure or anything within our easements. So we have a 20-foot permanent easement over the force main, and then we are obtaining a 30-foot temporary construction easement. But there are no solar panels that are going to be impacted. There's nothing near where construction is going to happen in that field.
And you don't feel any of your construction is going to impact the land further down then? 15.
no, it's all on the
Yeah,
shoulder. Yeah, all between the sidewalk and the road.
Okay. And my other question is, any concern about federal funding for this project?
No. One nice thing is it's actually funded out of this fiscal year's kind of allocation, so it should go right ahead.
Yeah, we've received notice that we received the funding for construction on Friday.
Okay. Thank you.
So to be clear, the state has already received those federal funds, and this is just a disbursement from the state.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All set? Kendall, did you have any questions?
I was just gonna note, I'm glad to see that they're using PVC and HDPE.
Okay, with that, I will open it up to public comment since this is a public hearing. Any in the room? If you're online, again, you can raise your virtual hand with the three dots more. You'll have a reactions button and you can raise your hand from there. I don't see any public comment.
We
Hearing
should just check with Lynette, because we have to keep Lynette happy at all.
Okay. Lynette, are you happy?
Overall, yes. So the public comment period will start today and go for 30 days. If people still,
Period. So if you're not here or you wish not to speak in public, there is that public comment period.
Seeing no other questions and seeing no one else with their hands raised in the audience, I make the motion, we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Dawn. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Kendall. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Public hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is consider first approval of an ordinance for Code of Ethics Investigation and Enforcement. We had a sneak peek at this it was in our agenda packet it was last week. This is our second week in a row. Quick turnaround. So this is actual discussion of the ordinance, public comment, discussion among the board. Greg, did you have anything else to add?
Just to highlight some of the points in the memo, this is Act 171 that was passed in June of last year. It's a lot of comprehensive ethics law. Last week we appointed Karen as our ethics liaison and designated complaint recipient for hopefully not too many, hopefully we won't receive any complaints, but in case we do, Karen's the person. This is another step as far as passing an ordinance that speaks to the town's ethics requirements and how to file some of those complaints and be in touch with Karen. The language is here. It's been suggested by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, so it's a draft model ordinance from them. No changes for us as far as what VLCT has proposed. After this, just some additional requirements. We're going to have to do some trainings and have some of our board members and volunteers get ethics training and staff as well. That will come in the next few months. So this is what's before you today as far as us complying with Act 171.
Any discussion on the ordinance? Dawn, Kendall?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it looks good. I wondered, I've done the ethics training. Has the state sent that information forward to you folks?
I haven't seen it yet.
I don't believe so. Have you?
Yeah, I haven't I understand it should be offered soon because I believe the requirement is later in the summer, but I haven't seen the specific training dates or anything like that scheduled yet.
Yeah, I know, I believe we need to take it by the end of September.
Yes,
If
thank
I
you.
recall correctly, so there is some time.
I was gonna see if she was ready for the motion. Go ahead.
I was just going to speak a little bit to the ordinance adoption process. Complying with the Essex Town Charter, basically what you do if you're comfortable with the ordinance tonight, sounds like you are, you would pass the ordinance and authorize staff to warn a public hearing. We would do that for your next meeting on February 24th. After the public hearing, you can either adopt the ordinance as presented, or you can make changes. If you make any changes, you have to warn another public hearing. And you continue with that process until you are ready to pass the ordinance without any changes.
Good reminder. Before, I would like to open it up to public comment. If anybody has thoughts, feelings about the ordinance or this topic. Okay. Anyone online?
If I,
Yeah, go for it.
if you have any comments now, it's helpful to hear them, but
I support it. Do it. We'll talk more about that at the public hearing.
fair enough.
Okay, I'm not seeing anybody online.
Madam Chair, at this time I make the motion to Select Board pass ordinance Title 1, Chapter 1.05, Code of Ethics, Investigation and Enforcement, and authorize staff to publish a notice of public hearing to be set February 24th, 2025 at 6:35 p.m. to introduce said ordinance, hear comments, and provide notice, excuse me, of the citizens' rights to petition for a vote to disapprove the ordinance.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Kendall. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next order of business is considering approval of fiscal year 2026 capital budget and 5-year plan. This was on our agenda from last week. We did have questions around the sidewalk from the 289 to the golf course. That was included. Let's see here. Let me get back to the actual packet. So we do have an updated capital budget in memo in our packet. Any further discussion? Any input from the public on the proposed capital budget and 5-year plan? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. If someone would like to make a motion, I will entertain that.
I make the motion to Select Board adopt the fiscal year 2026 capital budget and 5-year plan.
Thank you, Dawn. Is there a second?
I'll second it with the comments that I did forward some information to the staff that was answered.
Thank you, Kendall.
Unanswered, is that what he said?
You did get your questions answered, correct, Kendall?
I did. I'm still. I don't want to slow the process down, so I'll vote in the affirmative, since I know with 3 select board members you have to have an affirmative vote to move it along. But I did want to note that I do have some questions about the sidewalk plow still, but not enough to stop it. So thank you.
Okay, then. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Our next item, wow. Our next item on the agenda is potential action about town meeting outreach for select board members. There was a fairly substantial list of community events over the next month or so in the packet. Greg, I believe that we just want to make sure that select board members sign up and provide availability for those community events to speak with members of the public, hand out informational packets, flyers, and further make ourselves available for comment and feedback.
Correct. It's a comprehensive list. Kate LaRose, our assistant, put it together. You by no means are expected or have to attend all of those. We just wanted to give you a good variety of events that are coming up. In the past, for the past several years, select board members have gone 1 or 2 at a time to some of these events, just an opportunity to engage with residents or voters, try to get the word out about town meeting, answer questions about what might be on the ballot. So giving you some options today, and if you have any that you want to sign up for today, that's great. If not, if you want to mull it over or see what fits your schedule, happy to just take some feedback along the way, and we can coordinate packets, information that you can hand out. There's some Q&As in the packet that you saw tonight. Also working on one about the human services funding, just explaining why that's a separate question on the ballot. And otherwise, we typically hand out the town meeting warning, and hope that people show up and hope that people vote.
Who do we tell what dates where we want to go? It doesn't say here.
Oh, yeah, we have a sign-up sheet here, so
Oh, there I
those of you
I
who are
knew there was
here,
a catch.
if you want to sign up directly, please do. If you want to take a look and get back to us, that works too.
I gotta find him now, but yes, okay.
And be forewarned that you will likely encounter children selling cookies.
I had a whole bake sale. It was more than cookies. They had a whole bake sale.
Which is always a risk we take this time of year. I ended up going home with like 7 boxes of cookies from the high school last year. Family was happy. All right, so we do have a physical sign-up sheet. You can always respond with availability, and we can make that happen, get folks signed up for slots. Our next 2 items are for executive session. So I believe we are on to the reading file already.
The tax sale, we do have a little bit we can
okay.
speak to publicly.
Yep, go
Dan can talk to that. Just a very quick update in public about we've put liens on some of the properties, especially those in the city.
Sorry about that, Dan.
No worries. Good evening. How are you? Yeah, just to kind of provide an update, we haven't spoken about tax sales and the policy and how that's gone since last April, where we had a revision to our policy that helped us kind of initiate the process for some tax sales on both the town and the city side. As of last May, we had about $380,000 of delinquent taxes on our delinquent tax list. Of which about 103,000 were based on city properties, which are 6 properties within the city, ranging in dates from 2017 through 2021, so before the separation, as it were. Currently, the delinquent tax list is about 220,000, with about the same amount of $103,000 being represented by those city properties. Obviously, we do post 1% interest on a monthly basis on the properties on a continuous basis. Last month, we did record liens with the city of Essex Junction on the 6 properties that are delinquent. There is going to be a second mailing of those to notify those residents that those recordings have been finalized with the city. We began the tax sale process with 10 properties, 4 of which qualified for tax sale procedures under our policy being $10,000 or more at the time. And we have been collecting regularly from 6 of those properties. There's a couple of properties who have kind of failed off of their agreements, and there's 2 that have been basically non-responsive to inquiries, questions, phone calls, all of the above. So that's kind of the framework here, just wanting to provide the basic information of where we've been, and kind of discuss where we'd like to go from there.
Okay.
So what should the next step be?
I think we
I've
should
really been involved in this, so I don't.
yeah, I think we should discuss that in executive session.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, we'll discuss it in executive session.
Correct.
Okay. With that, I believe we're on to the reading file. Board member comments.
I'm happy to see that the school board is going to send out some detail about how to get an absentee ballot.
I did send an email reminder today, but just as a reminder, next Friday, select board evaluations are due, so that Andy and I can compile and come back on the 24th. So I just want to give people enough reminders so that they're attentive and follow up on that item so that we can bring something back on the 24th for discussion. Anything else from the board? If not, I think we're at executive session.
Oops, sorry, hold on.
I have it up if you want me to.
I was not ready. You went faster than I thought it was gonna. Sorry about that. Hold on a minute. So, I move the select board. I hope I've got the right one here. Make the specific findings that general public knowledge of confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body would place the town at substantial disadvantage.
Thank you. Don, is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Kendall, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0.
I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body pursuant of 1 VSA 313A 1F to include the town manager, deputy town manager, and finance director.
Thank you. Don, is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Kendall, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
And I move that the select board enter executive session to discuss negotiating or securing a real estate purchase or lease options in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A2 and to include the town manager and deputy town manager.
Thank you. Don, is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Kendall. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Will we be making any motions out of executive?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay,
No.
so we will come out of executive and adjourn only. But we are now in executive session.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.